Hey! It's been a while since I've done a normal video. I've been doing some lives, but I haven't done a normal video for some time, and I promised that I would on the community thingy that I did last week. So, today we are making, I asked on the community tab which soap you would like to see me make, and or what kind of soap, and a few of you mentioned coffee soap, a few of you mentioned exfoliating soap, and a few of you mentioned more essential oil soaps. So today's soap is going to be coffee soap. So I needed to make this anyway, so I've made a big batch of my luxury Jamaican Mocha soap, which is here. And this one is a blend of two different fragrance oils. So it's a coffee mocha and an espresso. And I changed this recently just so I could get more of that coffee note in there, because it was a bit too sort of latte-ish before, and it wasn't sort of giving me like a nice coffee kick. I do ask in this video, as I'm making, for any recommendations for a good coffee fragrance oil that actually smells like coffee, because I think they're quite hard to find without it smelling all weird. But this one, it does smell good, but it is very creamy. It's like a creamy coffee blend, but it's nice. It also contains real coffee grounds, and then I use two different colours, so cocoa, because it's got the coffee mocha, and then there's some white in there as well, and then coffee sprinkled on the top. So if you want to soap along, then you can click around here somewhere, and also in the links below you can buy my recipe on my Etsy shop. I do a palm oil free recipe and my original recipe, which is this one. And there's also a shampoo bar recipe at the moment. There will be some more coming, but if you want to have my soap recipe, then you can get that in the link in the description box, and the info card will be somewhere. Okay, I will start making. Okay, so let's get our lye mixture in. It's a little cloudy because I use a master batch of lye, so I make up a 50-50 water and lye mix that I keep in a bucket, so when I'm ready to make soap I just add the additional water to it. So sometimes it can be a bit cloudy when I've just mixed the water in. Okay, so let's start then. It does take a little while longer to reach that emulsification stage, but it's a lot more gentle. Yeah, this stick blender. So I'm just going to pour off my bits for my colours and my coffee. Actually my coffee goes in the base, so I'm going to pour off for the cocoa portion. About that much. And then the white portion. So I just mixed my TD in with some water in there. And I just want a jug full of white. So I'm making a big batch again today. So I won't touch that for a second. Just want to leave it. Then there's my coffee grounds, those in there, and I'm just going to put the cocoa on there. So I'll give these two a stick blend. Get some fragrance in and then come back and do the white in a second, because that white, it will thicken a bit faster than the rest. because it's white. It just does. It's just what it does. This is a blend of a coffee scent and a coffee mocha scent, so it's a bit sort of sweeter than a regular just coffee. I use like an espresso fragrance with the chocolatey sort of coffee mocha. It's so good. Okay, I'm just going to stick blend again to get this nice and thick. Okay, I'm just going to pour my base. Leave a bit for the top. I'm going to put my white in now so that it doesn't thicken up too quick at the end. So if I get it in now, then it's in. Because it does thicken, and it thickens quick, and I don't want to have that happen really. Then my chocolate, my delicious chocolate. There's just something about a coffee soap. I think most people really do enjoy a coffee soap, and especially soap makers. It's not always the best seller in the shop, but I think other soap makers appreciate a coffee soap. I don't know why, I just think we do. You know what I mean. Then I'm just literally going to do some splattering over the top, so I'll just do a bit different this time. I might still sort of bring it over the top like I sometimes do my tops, but I might not. In the next 5 minutes we shall see what I end up doing. This is how I used to always do them, like random, just like this. Especially in the slab mould, it just makes it easier than trying to plan a fancy schmancy top when you've got to cut 4 loaves out of this. It's sort of like, to get them uniform, it's actually quite tricky. And I haven't marked out my mould, so let's just go for it and see what we get. Definitely smells better than it used to, this one. I always used to just use this coffee mocha scent, and it was a bit too subtle and not quite coffee enough. I could still do with being a bit stronger, but trying to find a good coffee scent that sticks well in soap and actually doesn't smell like that weird smell you get when you add food to soaps. I think it's quite, yeah. I don't know of any other coffee, so if you know of any other coffee fragrances that you love that come out really nice in soap, then leave a comment below so I can check it out. Check it out. Tidy up a minute. Get that ready for the next one. There. Where's my cloth? Just like to have a little wipe down. Still quite fluid. So that stick blender definitely is helping me not have the soap thicken up too quickly. Whereas my other one, I used to sort of feel like I'd got a lot less time. It's kind of strange really. This soap does sometimes thicken up quite a lot, but it's not manageable. But yeah, it's definitely different, that stick blender. It definitely makes it a bit more easy peasy. Right, I'm just going to see. There's not really a lot we can do other than just sort of squish it around a bit. I'm going to come back and do it in a minute because it's still too fluid, so I'll come back in a sec. Okay. Bring it a bit closer while I do the top. So I'm just going to squish it around really. I don't want to do too much. Just be interesting to see what it's like when it's cut. See that white underneath? It thickens so fast that doing this is actually quite tricky. It will look alright regardless when it's cut, but yeah, I didn't want to do my usual sort of pulling over the top to the side and all that. I wanted to make it look a bit more chunky. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is get some more coffee. And I'm just going to randomly sprinkle a bit extra on the tops. And now it's making me crave coffee, so I'm going to go and make a coffee before I make my next soap. I'm a coffee fiend. Just a little extra, that's all. Okay, that is my luxury Jamaican Mocha soap. I'll be back to cut it shortly. Okay, ready to cut them. I'm going to be using my log splitter and my tank cutter today for this. So she's going to out the mould. I really should change these moulds. I put the hinges on wrong when I made them. And it means that the bottom half of the hinge, if I was to leave it sitting on the counter like that, then it would have a slope, because my hinges, I'll show you what I've done, are on the bottom, and I should have put them on the sides, or like on these sides, but they've got clips. It works fine. I just rest those hinges underneath. It's just a little sort of inch overhang, so it works fine, but it's one of those little things where it annoys me that I got it wrong. But they've been like this for about 8 years. Anyway, I can at least lift them out and it's all perfectly fine and dandy. So it doesn't really matter, it's just a little bugbear. Whoa, this is heavy. Okay, so this works out at about 10 kilos of soap. Kilos. Gosh, let's just put this away. Okay. And it makes me 52 1-inch bars. Get these edge bits off. Okay, so I just line mine with greaseproof paper. Okay, so it's just this pink one. These are just baking sheets that I cut to size. You can get these extra large ones. So It's just to have a nice, smooth, soft bottom. Smooth ass. Okay, let me get my gloves on. We'll slice this into loaves and we'll see how it turned out making it the way we did it this time. So, can't really see. I think that looks, yeah. But it doesn't really matter which way I cut it, but I like to sort of cut it the way I've made it, if you see what I mean. So, let's get my cutter and hope we don't break a wire. Shouldn't do. I just tightened it up a little bit yesterday. Okay. There's that inside. It's a bit heavy to hold with one hand. So this, I get 14 bars, I think, out of each loaf, which is a decent amount. So getting 52 out of a big batch. So at the moment it smells a bit strange, as they always do when you make soaps with any type of food stuff. So even the cocoa and the coffee especially, they react with the soap base, and it smells really, really gross the first day of the cut. I always find that it's just how it is. It just stinks. Not very nice. But as it cures and as the water evaporates out, and you're left with a much creamier, nicer, sweeter scent. But yeah, at the moment it's got this, it's just a weird, like, almost like a dough, like an uncooked bread dough sort of a smell. That's the way I can describe it. It's just not very nice. So yeah, if you imagine like your dough, when you're making pizza dough or bread dough, it smells a bit like that. To the side, and we'll get the tank down and just cut a couple of these to see what they're like on the side. Cut that first one there. Okie doke. So at the ends I get my bits for samples. Somebody asked me what I do with all the offcuts. They're all used for samples for orders. So these will then get cut down the middle in half, and I use them all for samples for orders. Okay, so let's get into these then. Let's have a look. Not much of a swirl yet. It might be in the next loaf. Let's get through a bit. Sort of coming in there. This does darken ever so slightly, this soap. What was that? Oh, I've just broke a blooming wire. Oh, okay, right. So we won't be cutting any more on this. I've just snapped my wire. I had a feeling it might go today. I don't know why. But I'll just put that back on and I'll be back. Oh, could have done without that today. Look. Okay, I'll be back in a sec. Let me go and fix that. I've got some spare wires out the back, so I'll go and grab them and I'll do that. Okay, I just decided to continue with my single wire cutter instead. just because it's there. So I will fix the other one in a sec. I might actually do a video on how to replace a wire, might be handy for some people. Okay, see what we got in this one. It's only recent I had to replace the wire on this thing, so trial and tribulations that we have in here all the time, always something. Never mind, that's what happens. But always, if you're a soap maker and this is the sort of thing that will happen, always make sure you've got backup wires in stock, because there's nothing worse than starting to cut soap and the wire goes on you. It's just really frustrating. So yeah, you might want to have a look at that. It's really annoying. I get mine from Amazon or any guitar supply shop, and I sort of get a packet of different sized ones. So on my log splitter I use a slightly wider, thicker wire than I do on the single wire cutter and on the tank cutter. I can't quite remember what the size of them is. I'll try and do a video replacing the tank wire, and then I can tell you which ones I use. But yeah, bit of a pain in the bum. Just have a sip of coffee to make everything better. It's probably a bit of a godsend actually that just happened, because I think one of the rows, one of the oh look at that, one of the loaves was actually lower than the rest, so it's probably worked out okay that I'm cutting slightly wider than normal with this one, so the size should be correct. I like to have like 5-ounce bars. Yeah, it's not 14 bars, it's 13 bars that I normally get out of a loaf, not 14 bars. So let's just stream through these, and then I will move on to the next soap to finish off a video I've got coming next. That looks like waves at the bottom. If you tried to get that effect on purpose, you'd probably have some trouble, wouldn't you? Yeah, still got that bread dough smell. So what have I been watching? I haven't done a video about what we've been watching for a while. So yesterday, I sorted out some DVDs from home, because we're trying to put some things away so that when we move, it won't be such a tricky thing to do. So I went through the DVD cupboard, which, if you're like me, is a nightmare, trying to decide which ones to keep and which ones you ain't never going to watch again. So I went through mine. I mean, I'm the one that buys most DVDs. Matt would have a few, but I'm the one that's a bit more film mad. He's not really fussed about films. So I went through my cupboard and bought some to work, so I put them in the cupboard out the back here, and I got a little DVD player that I can attach to my laptop that I bought for myself, so I can watch them all here while I'm not sort of open, or if I'm doing some other things that don't require too much attention, I can watch films here. So yesterday I watched Elephant, which I've not seen in years, and it's the film about the Columbine school shooting. It's really not nice. It's really not a very nice film to watch at all, but it's very interesting nonetheless. And Gus Van Sant, who's the director, filmed it inside a real school. They were having day-to-day general activities, so it felt very, very, very real watching it. Not that I would know what it feels like, because of course I've never been through that situation, but there are many people, probably even maybe people watching. So let me know if you've had this sort of experience. But yeah, it's certainly an eye-opener, and it's just such a strange film because it's very slow moving, because it's just a day in the life of a school just being filmed as it regularly would be, but then knowing, you know, what's going to happen. It's just it keeps you sort of in a real weird state of knowing what's coming. It's just really, really not very nice at all. But I've watched it again now, and that one will be going to the charity shop because I don't think I'll ever need to watch it again, you know. It's one of those, an eye-opener, but since then there's been so many more, and hopefully there won't ever be another one, but you never know. You never know. But it's also hopeless. I was writing my diary last night, I was writing about it, and just so, like, so pointless, so mindless and so pointless, because in the end, what is the point of any of it, you know? What is the point of any? None of it ever makes sense, and these people, they're not doing it for fame because they go and commit suicide at the end anyway. It's just this ever such a strange mindset that I can't understand, and I don't want to understand, but it's sort of so pointless, you know. At the end of the film, you're left just thinking, it's so pointless. It's really just awful, you know. But worth a watch if you are into sort of dealing with the realities of what can happen in this world, and, you know, but then really not worth a watch if you don't like that kind of, nobody likes that kind of thing, but I suppose like acknowledging it then. So I thought I'll watch it one more time rather than throw it away, and then I'll send it to a charity shop. Not the sort of thing you want to give to someone at all, but yeah, we'll leave that there, you know. What else can you possibly say about something so horrendous? You can't. You just can't. So, on that note, I shall make a much happier soap in the next video, because, yeah, that's kind of brought the mood down a little bit, hasn't it? I didn't mean to do that, sorry. Anyway, that is my luxury Jamaican Mocha soap with the broken wire in between. Never mind. I will be back. Show you a bit better. There you go. I will be back shortly to make the Sunwise soap. That's the next one I'm doing. So it'll be a nice, happy essential oil soap. And I will see you very shortly. Ta-ta.